Hello and welcome to the Round Ball Australia podcast. My name is Lachie, Avil, and sitting here as we record on the eve of the Ashes series. I know we're a football podcast, but the Australian-England rivalry, I'm sure a lot of other sports fans around the country are looking forward to it as well. Jacob, you did point out to me before we clicked record, I'm wearing a bit of a controversial shirt to go too hard into the English, but I'm looking forward to it all kicking off. Australian v England is a very good sporting rivalry, and I think it's going to add a little fun subtext to our summer activities on the podcast.
It might be fun for the majority. I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it all that much. He's complaining already, but we don't stand a chance. I think it's pretty clear us playing in Australia is not England's thing. So I'm just hoping it's more than a single ball this time before we can write it off. Like, give us an innings or a day, of cricket, and then be like, okay, yeah, it's all over now. Don't just be first ball balled around the legs. Like, yeah.
Come on, Rory. Well, of course, there is a very good chance, well, not a good chance, but there is a chance that Australia could draw England in the Men's World Cup coming up next year as well. That draw is only 2 weeks away, so we're going to know soon enough, and there is a lot of controversy around that to do with the pots and the rankings, and we'll get to that a little later in the episode as well. But we are here off the back of the Socceroos 2 games against South American opposition in this November window. A very disappointing window, really. What we did learn just after Matt Olsen and I recorded our little post-match reaction to Colombia is that apparently a lot of the players were ill. Jacob Popovich said post-match. I know you're giving a little snarl there. Popovich said in his post-match press conference there was an illness, a virus that ran through the whole team. A lot of the players and some of the staff as well pretty much spent all of Sunday in bed, and then obviously had to travel Monday light session into the game against a very good, opposition in Colombia. Does it add a little bit of context for you? I do remember having points throughout the game thinking they just look slow. They're not, moving or playing with enough purpose. Maybe that's just me revising the game in my head with new information. I'm not sure. But it obviously, when we're looking to a World Cup and we're thinking so big picture and we play so little games, you want to take as much out of every game as you can. But when you get a fact like this and say, okay, the players physically probably weren't up for it, it's hard to, let go of all those criticisms that we'd formed in our heads.
It's awfully convenient, isn't it, that after their arguably worst performance under Popovich, all of a sudden, they've been sick the whole time, so that's why. I don't know how much I buy it. There are things, sure, okay.
You don't buy it.
I don't buy fully that is the reason why they were that bad. Did it contribute? Sure, like you said, there were times where they looked slow, but their just sheer inability to look forwards when they've got the ball at feet is not because they're unwell, right? That's not the problem. There's one moment that sticks in my head, and I've seen so many people clip it and post about it. But Jackson Irvine receives a pass in the middle of the pitch, and there is so much space for him to turn into. Just turn, and it's just free reign. He can just drive with it. He can play a pass to literally anybody in the front line, just wide open channels, the perfect opportunity to break through Colombia. And he just turns the other way and plays it back to the centre-backs. And I was like, that just epitomised the entire game for me. And you can't chalk that up to illness. That's just the way they played that game wasn't right for the opposition, and they didn't capitalise on the chances that were there to be taken because they weren't looking for them. And I think it showed that, again, kind of in a similar vein to Venezuela, where maybe gave the benefit of the doubt a little bit. It does show the weakness sometimes in Popovich's system, where it takes a lot sometimes to get rid of these tendencies that are in the squad of let's keep possession and, let's kind of just play the ball around and hope something opens up. And then when something does open up, they're still in that mindset of let's just play the ball around, let's just keep possession. And it stabbed them in the back in a way in this one. Yeah. So, that's why I don't fully buy the illness excuse. Like, yes, it doesn't help, right? Because you are going to be slower, you're not going to be fit, etc., but that's not an excuse for failing to recognise when things were open, failing to play in a positive, aggressive manner. It just, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, to be honest.
Fair enough. And I do think, like, this very specific issue you mentioned with Jackson Irvine not turning and playing midfield, I actually think, and I said this the other day, I think he's one of the Socceroos' better players at actually being able to do that.
Yeah.
But whether it's instruction or whether it's game situation awareness or whatever, I think that midfield two in general have a way too high propensity to just not taking those risks
Play that
when
easy
they're
pass.
on.
Yeah.
Turning and playing an easy pass forward when it is actually on. And hopefully someone like a Jackson Irvine can get us out of that trend. But obviously that moment, as you allude to, it hasn't been happening all the time. There's a lot of different takes that have come out of it. It's funny how opinion shifts so quickly, right? You know, Popovic had won, 7 or 8 games in a row, undefeated in 12. Now we've lost 3 and... You know, all the predictable.
I said this, didn't I? I said
it's happening.
If they lose this game
does.
against Colombia, it's going to pile on. Like, it's just going to unravel. So
yeah, and I'm interested in your opinion because the fact that we don't play until March now, 3-4 months away, I think you can look at it 2 ways. Because I suggested on Wednesday that being Tony Popovic, having the illness, having a rotated squad, having then that 4-month break, by the time you get the new squad together and the World Cup is so much closer, you can almost just wipe out the past and just forget about it. Here we are. It's a sprint to the World Cup. This is point zero. We're building from here. Or the other way is to say that you actually don't get an opportunity to respond from such a poor window for 4 months, and then that whole feeling can kind of drag with you.
yeah, I think the team and kind of the fans and the media and everybody else are going to, I think, represent either side of that kind of equation, where the team maybe are going to look at it as a chance to put it behind them and start fresh. Everyone else is going to be like, well, now we've got to wait all this time to see you go out there again in, response to a really poor window against 2 teams that, okay, they're good sides, Venezuela and Colombia, but, you should be getting some form of result, a draw somewhere there, or maybe scrape a win against Venezuela or something like that, right? But 2 losses, it really hurts, and it just kind of, it's one of those things that carries on, and it does linger, because the next time, when the next window rolls around and the next squad is announced, the first thing people are going to be saying is, oh, well, it's all well and good to bring this person in, but you should have done it in the last window and maybe we would have won a game. So it's the team are going to go, oh, thank God we're out of there. We're out of America. We don't have to play any more games. We can go back to our clubs and just enjoy football again, and focus then on the next window that opens up. Whereas all the media, all the fans are going to still be on their back and all over Popovic, as we've seen already. A lot of people saying, "See, told you so." It's not going to last, and it's funny, isn't it? I think that. The fact that there's these 2 sides and they're on display at the same time is pretty funny.
Which side of the coin do you fall on? Do you think it's a blessing that they have 4 months off, or is it, that missed opportunity now that's going to sit with them?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Can I sit on the fence?
No, absolutely not.
I'm going to go with it's a missed opportunity then.
Okay.
And I do feel that because we've spoken about in the lead into this window how important these 2 games are for kind of finalizing everything in anticipation of the World Cup in World Cup conditions against, at least with Colombia, World Cup opposition. This is your time to, you've got your A-League players are kind of back in and amongst the squad now that they've had some minutes. Like this is your opportunity to really set the benchmark moving forwards, and whether through illness, no fault of their own, or through something else, they've just not been able to do that. And it does feel like a missed opportunity. And I think it's going to hurt that the World Cup it's everything that you're building towards. It's why Popovic was brought into the job, right? To get them to qualify for the World Cup and to succeed at the World Cup. And so to fail at like the penultimate window before the World Cup, that really hurts, because this was the big opportunity to set themselves up. And it does kind of feel like they've let that slip away a little bit. But on the other hand, there's always things to learn from it. So it's a tough one, but I do think it might hurt a little bit more than it helps having such a long gap before the next time they play.
All right. It'll be interesting to see as that progresses. But of course, individually, as we like to do in the build-up towards the World Cup, every window we've come and we've delivered our tier list ranking of all the individuals that are fighting for a spot on the plane for the Socceroos to the 2026 World Cup. This is, of course, our November edition for the games against Venezuela and Colombia. And Jacob, it feels like there's a very different tone here. Obviously, the other windows where we've done this, it's been quite positive.
Yeah.
Lots of names being pushed forward. But we were having a brief chat before we started. There's only, a small handful of names that really are pushing for any significant improvement in our rankings after this window.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like any of the new entrants really, except maybe one, really made a name for themselves. Like that nobody burst onto the scene, and it just was a bit disappointing all around. Is it for the team, for the individuals, that nobody was able to really kick on? Whether that's one of the new players or even one of the established ones, right? Who's maybe not 100% for sure going to the World Cup, but with a couple of good performances could maybe have sealed their spot. Like it just feels like it was like the worst possible outcome, where we still don't really know who the best choices are, because it feels like every time we think it's somebody, there's a disappointing performance, or they just aren't able to improve on where they've been already. So yeah, it's been a tough one to try and figure out where to put everybody.
And so this, again, I really want to emphasize the whole narrative of the last 3 months has been, this is the experimentation phase. So as far as my theory goes, this is our long list. All of the faces that we have, I know we've got a category for it here, but you know what I mean. And Popovic has essentially said this in press conferences as well. Everyone who's been named in the last 3 windows, you're in the running. So we know these people, as we say, on the radar at the bare minimum, right? This is our group. There may be 2 or 3 bolters that come from absolutely nowhere that are not on this list to make the World Cup squad. But majority of the squad is now going to come from these faces. So we've got a final 8 fresh faces here at the bottom. Again, if you're listening on Spotify, you can switch over to video or check us out on YouTube to see the tier list in front of you. But the 8 new names: Craig Goodwin, Riley McGree, Patrick Beach, Kai Trewin, Paul Okonexler, Cal Elder, Al Hassan Toure, and then James Overy as well. Let's start with Goody, I reckon, because I reckon he's a fascinating case, because he's the only capped Socceroo that came out of the A-League for this window.
Yeah.
And he was played at left wing back, and the experiment failed, and we've had that conversation. And obviously he's been playing in that 10 role at Adelaide. He's probably not far off it, but he didn't get an opportunity in the so-called experimental window. And for, the Socceroo that scored Australia's first goal at the last World Cup against France, I'm not sure how solid he is in the squad selection for this World Cup.
I think it would be really, really, really harsh if he doesn't make the World Cup. But you can also kind of understand it from, the viewpoint of where does he fit. I've not been overly impressed with him as a 10 at Adelaide this season. I think he's kind of been wasted in that central role. Maybe hasn't quite had the impact that he would have had he been in some of those wide positions that the likes of Yaya Dakuli has found himself in this season. It wasn't great for him, was it? Especially that game against Venezuela, where it's like, okay, this is his kind of chance now to go, well, maybe there's better options than me in the 10. But I have the ability to play in this kind of wing-back role. I've played there before when I was younger. Obviously he's been a left winger most of his career, so the way that the wing-backs are used in Popovic's system, they're very similar to wingers anyway. It felt like it was kind of a good idea, but yeah, like you said, the experiment pretty clearly failed, and I think it goes to show kind of the weakness of having somebody like him in that position. So we can't put him any lower than the long list. That would be disrespectful. Yeah. Like, I think you've got that experienced leadership. His set piece, delivery is insanely good. That's one of the big benefits of having him in the team, is that he's going to deliver a corner or a free kick very, very well. Yeah. Like you said, he was the goal scorer against France in the last World Cup. He just has that ability to just kind of appear and score a goal.
He just is a Socceroo, isn't he?
He is, but it feels like he hasn't really done enough to go, yeah, he's definitely going. Like I said, it would be harsh for him to miss out, I feel, but you could also kind of understand it with the way that it's gone for him. So,
all right, I think we'll leave him there, shall we? On the long list for now. Riley McGree. Now, I think straight away I'm putting him up in good chance. I think he was one of the few good players in the Venezuela
100%.
game. And coming off injury, He's already fought his way back into a Middlesbrough team that's flying.
Yeah.
Again, I think maybe excessive to put him on the plane straight away because we can only do one of those an
Only do one,
episode.
and we might even struggle to do that. But
but good chance I feel is appropriate.
yeah, and I think he offers something unique in that role as well, where he is more comfortable being a bit central, whereas kind of some of the players that Popovic has tried there have either been kind of that inverted winger, right, where they prefer being out wide, or they've been a deeper midfielder, more of a, kind of an 8 playing a bit further forwards, whereas McGree is that central 10. So, no, it feels like a good match. And we definitely saw that with, like you said, in that game against Venezuela. When he got on the ball and he turned towards goal, it felt like he had that real intent to kind of progress the ball through the final third rather than, as we were talking about earlier with the midfield duo, just typically kind of retaining possession. He looked to actually try and bring it forwards a little bit more, so it was refreshing. It was new. He was one of the few players that really actually kind of stood out for a good reason in this window. So I'd agree with good chance. I think he's he stays fit, and there's a very, very good chance he's at the next World Cup.
Just as well for viewers, I realise I didn't go through this, but if you're listening on the podcast and you're not watching the screen, our 5 tiers, we have on the plane, which we've locked in, 7 players so far. We can't take them off that list. Then good chance, the long list, Smokey, and on the radar. So they're our 5 tiers of players. Now, another one, feel free to argue with me here, but another player I actually want to put on the good chance list is Patrick Beach.
Yeah.
I understand I have some bias in this area, so again, I'm open to being talked off this particular ledge, but I think Popovic openly said in the press conference talking about the squad that at this moment of time, Patrick Beach is ahead of the other options for number 3 in terms of a Tom Glover, who still doesn't have a club, and a Joe Gauci as well. Mm-hmm. So for this particular window, I think he's sitting at a good chance. Again, it doesn't mean we can't move him down later if things change, but I think off the back of what officially was a man of the match performance against Venezuela as well on his debut game, I think he warrants a good chance.
And I think there's 3 things that help him out. The one you pointed out there, where Popovic has said he's ahead of everyone else, so that helps him. Number 2, the very strong performance he had against Venezuela. And number 3, Izzo did not look great against Colombia, so
True.
we know Izzo's pretty clearly number 2 at one point. It's the consideration of, is he actually the number 1 goalkeeper for this side? If he starts to fall his way, that brings Beach into even more consideration for Popovic. So I think again, he and McGree really the only 2 for me that actually did well this window. So I definitely agree with you in good chance.
Okay, so we've got 5 more names down that list. Do you have a particular strong opinion on any of those 5? Truen, Okonexla, Elder, Toure.
Look, Elder was fine. I don't think that's about all that can be he just was okay. Alhassan Toure should not have been in the squad. I think that was an incredibly ambitious pick by Popovic, and kind of goes against a little bit of the rhetoric that he's put out there about I want to see consistent performances, and it's like Toure scores 1 hat-trick and all of a sudden he's in the team. I love Alhassan Toure, don't get me wrong, but it felt like a bit of a weird pick at the time, and I think kind of indicated that with not such great performances. So Kai Truen may be the only one I'd have above on the radar. And that's just solely because of his versatility. I think the other 4, Ocon Engsler, I think it was pretty clear that he wasn't quite at the level that was required. Again, no denying he's a tremendous player, but it did look at times like he was just outclassed in the midfield, especially in that game against Venezuela. And it's disappointing because, again, he is a tremendous player, but, he's not going to get in ahead of the likes of a Jackson Irvine, of, an O'Neill, of a Metcalf, of a, whoever else might be in contention for one of those midfield spots.
Yazbek,
Ballard,
probably,
Yazbek, even,
Ballard.
Ballard.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like he's not at that level yet. He's still young though, so there's plenty of potential. But the only one I could really... James Overy, did he even play?
No, he didn't
even play.
No.
So, and that was, I think we spoke about that in the lead into the window of, this is just Popovic's thing of getting somebody in for training for one window, and then perhaps in the next one, if he's impressed, he gets some minutes.
And he's really for the future.
Oh, 100%. Right? Yeah, he's like, not even played senior minutes yet, has he? He's like,
No, like a Kai Truan or an Ocon Exeter are like for the future, but maybe if there's like an injury or two.
Yeah.
James Overy is seriously like next window material.
He's like the next World Cup. It's where they're looking out for him.
I'm comfortable putting all these four on the radar. So James Overy, Al Hassan Toure, Cal Elder, and Ocon Exeter. We've got double rows here.
Double row.
Like that. We're going to have to find someone to push up. I don't like going into double rows. Okay, Paul Ocon, you're a smoky. It's just because I need all the rows to be even.
Just because of your symmetry.
Yep. But Kai Truan, I think this between smoky or long list for me, because I feel like playing both games, he's clearly picked as a defender rather than essential midfielder, which makes sense. I think he can play both roles.
I rate him more as a defender than as a midfielder anyway.
I know you do. I see the opposite way of that, but I think like in this team, he's more likely to play essential defender, and then maybe longer term his ceiling is higher as a defensive midfielder.
Interesting.
But then like Jason Guerrier gets injured. Does that bump him up a place? I think the other thing we really have to start thinking about is for the likes of a Jason Guerrier, and there's one or two other examples in this picture we see, is playing in Japan, they do not have another season.
No.
Because they're doing this whole transitioning calendar thing. They don't play for the first 6 months of next season. I'm sure they're going to organise some kind of mini tournament or whatever, but it won't be a regular league. So as much as it affects A-League players in this little period that don't get picked because they're not in season, I think it affects the likes of a Jason Guerrier and a Mitch Duke as well. Yeah. So, I don't know, does Kai Truan that get bumped up a spot?
I think, look, you've got to also compare him to the people that we have in that smoky tier, right? It's like an Adrian Segicic who I don't think he even made an appearance, right? Ryan Teague, who hasn't been in...
Well, Sega's been injured. He's just coming back.
Well, yeah. Ryan Teague, who hasn't been in the Socceroos squad in the last couple of windows.
No.
Sammy Silveira, who was pretty clearly just a stopgap to test something out at right wing back. It feels like he's probably above those guys, right? Where you can see the purpose that he fills for this team, and where some of those more senior players are getting injured at Jason Guerrier or Miloš Degenek didn't look elite. There's certainly the opening for him, I think, in this squad that would put him above those guys, in my opinion.
Okay. Can I take that argument and raise you another one?
Sure.
Those two players you named there, Ryan Teague and Sam Silveira, I'm proposing we send them down. So if we send them down and slot Truan into Smokey, does that work?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that works. I think better than putting Truan in the long list.
Okay.
You're going to break your own rule of...
I'm going to have to live with these. I realise we had too many players. Paul Ocon, you're coming down as well.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have let you get up in the first place.
Yeah.
So there are all our new players on the board and where we currently are. So our on the radar is pretty big now, but these are a lot of players that have come in for a squad or two and then jumped out. I guess we said we're just going to go open season, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe just anything in that kind of on the radar smoky category first, those kind of fringe players. Sega, Robinson, I think Noah Botic could even fall down as well.
Yeah, I think so as well.
We drag him down. Is there anyone on the radar that we look up?
Is there anyone that you'd move up? Yeah.
None of these guys got minutes. D'Agostino went home early. Devlin didn't play.
Yeah.
Milanovic, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in the top three rows. So on the plane, all those players are locked in. We can't move them. We've got good chance and a long list to move around. Do you want to put forward a name? Because we have to name someone for the plane in this episode. Who are your candidates, baby?
Are you going to hate me if I say Mohamed Toure?
Yes. He didn't do anything special in this window to grant it.
He looked great against Venezuela.
He looked good, but
he looked good against Venezuela.
I think there are stronger candidates.
Okay, what? So, Lewis Miller?
Lewis Miller was already up. We put him up last. You and Christian fought hard for Lewis Miller. I didn't want him, but you guys put him up.
You're right. Yeah, he's already up.
I think Aiden O'Neill. Aiden O'Neill's my pick from this group to put on the plane because I think him and Jackson Irvine are our midfield two, if fit. I think they are our best two players. I think the way they combined early on against Colombia, I think he's on the plane.
Yeah.
And Mo Toure has been given a lot of faith. I will give him that. He's clearly the preferred candidate. But
I'll go O'Neill. That's fine. I can see that because
no one else. Because I do have one other idea.
He's a starting midfielder. They probably most of them probably will go to the World Cup.
That's
but
true.
I just feel like I'm looking at them and I'm like I can't make a strong enough case for them. You know, there's nobody that's maybe better than them, but that's not a good enough reason in my mind. So,
what about Miloš Dejanek?
Yeah, see, I don't know about him.
Really?
I don't know. I'm not sure where, and this could just be me, but I feel like there's just been so much focus on, oh, look at him, he's great, he's this great,
leader.
Leader and custodian for the game, and he really champions football in this country. And it's like, yeah, but okay, is that enough reason alone to get him in the squad? Like,
well, I think
he's been okay. Like, he's been serviceable in defence, but I feel like Cam Burgess is in there ahead of him. Ali Chikati is in there ahead of him. I feel like you've got the likes of, say, potentially a Kai Truin. If he can continue to perform for City, he could perhaps get in ahead of Dejanek. I don't know. Yeah. I
think the argument for Dejanek comes actually from when we didn't have him against the US, and that backline looked unorganised.
That's true. That's true.
And I think having that voice in the middle of the three is so crucial. And you say Chikati and Burgess go in ahead of him. I think they go along with him, right? And the bigger question that I think we're absolutely going to have to ask in March is, does a fit Harry Souttar come in and replace him?
I hadn't even considered that, yeah.
I'm at the point where I don't know if he does. I just think Dejanek has been so important to this team over the last 6 to 9 months that Harry Souttar is going to have a really tough time replacing him.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to be easy for him for Souttar to come straight back into this team. But like, there is that competition for that spot. There is the possibility that Souttar comes back in. And, okay, you get Matt Ryan back, and that's your leader that's organising the defensive line.
Potentially.
Like, it's just, yeah. I feel like there's too many variables. I'd much prefer saying we'll pick O'Neill for the plane than going with Dejanek.
Okay. All right. Well, then, in that case, I'll veto Mo Toure. You can veto Dejanek for now. and we'll send Aidan O'Neill. Congratulations, mate. Ramble Australia said so you got your ticket. Don't have to wait for Popovich to tap you on the shoulder. Off to North America next June. There you go. So we've got 8 names now confirmed on the plane. So for those playing all at home, Jackson Irvine, Matt Ryan, Ali Chikati, Jordy Boss, Nesta Irankunda, Paul Izzo, Lewis Miller, and Aidan O'Neill are our 8 of, I think, 23 in the squad that go. I think it was 26 for the last World Cup, but I'm assuming that's going to be brought back down after COVID, I think. I don't know. Who knows what FIFA will do. We're still waiting on this whole pot 2, pot 3 thing. Any other? I'll put forward some names in that kind of middle pack that I want to move down. Actually, I had one player, Kai Rounds, that I was considering moving up. I
had the same thing. I was like, even
as we were talking about him before, though, I kind of talked myself out of it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I think he absolutely proved in the Colombia game that he's the 3rd best left back. Like, he's a better option than Craig Wood. And then I'm thinking, but wait, if BH and Boss are both fit, he's the 3rd best left back.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't make it.
You can't play him anywhere. I mean, you could maybe play him as that left-sided centre-back, maybe.
Yeah. But then Kai Truin, I think, is a better option.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it doesn't feel like you can move him up. No. I feel like it's harsh to move him down.
Oh,
because he's been solid and
he's
serviceable.
For sure.
But I was like, I don't think... I came into this thinking, he's probably one we can move up. But no, I agree. Definitely not. One you could definitely move down, I think, is Daniel Alzani.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't believe you guys were campaigning so hard for him last time.
He's
definitely down in smoky.
I think he's gone down.
Is he even a smoky?
Is he even playing for his club? I know there's problems where they they signed way too many foreign players, and so
Really?
that's
Do a quick
part of the
flash
reason he
score
can't
search
play.
because I don't want to mess up my browser for this screen share. But Arzani, yeah, look, if he's not getting minutes, I know there was like rumors of him getting a move potentially. I think if he gets that move in January, then we can consider putting him back up.
He did come out and say, yeah, he'd be stupid not to look for that move because he does want to go to the World Cup. But so he last played on the 26th of October.
So a month ago.
And he got 45 minutes, and he's been not in the squad since then. Or actually, my apologies, 29th of October. He played 19 minutes. So he's basically not played in a month.
All right. I reckon maybe pending transfer, like knowing that could happen, I think the smoky category is still all right with. The other arguments, and this is going back to the whole Japan thing as well, Mitch Duke.
Yeah.
If Toure is clearly the number one striking option, and we've got one or two players in behind. Like, we haven't even seen the likes of a Zach Sapsford yet.
No. And it's, we've moved Noah Botic down, but I still feel like there's that potential there for him. I saw some people saying, should have got Archie Goodwin in for this window because he's already in America. He's come off the back of a really good season. It would have been a good opportunity to get him in. It does feel like there's a lot of those younger players that are kind of nipping at their heels a bit for that.
And I feel like we're just as likely to put like Martin Boyle at striker, for the last 20 minutes of the game.
I think with the way that the team plays, you could even put like a Riley McGree there, right? And it wouldn't fundamentally change the way that the team looks to play. So I think, maybe you do drop him down. He's not going to play for a while. He
feels a bit harsh, but sorry, the Japan thing just came back to my head as well.
He's just not going to play for like 6 months.
Okay. I think what have we got? So Burgess, Metcalf, Boyle, Toure, Dejanek, McGree, Beach. You can't move any of those down, I don't think.
No, they're all solid there.
And then in the long list, we have Rouse, we covered him, Yazbek, Rustic, Guerrier. I don't, even with the injury, I don't think maybe you can move him down. Italiano, Ballard, and then Goodwin Duke.
I think Italiano and Ballard maybe you could move, but again, it feels harsh.
Ballard is... Are you saying Ballard down?
Yes.
Oh, right. I was thinking maybe he was the one you could
thinking up. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
if anything. Because he came on for
was
30 minutes in the Venezuela game.
Yeah, I just feel like he's kind of the victim of circumstance again, where it's like there's just so many options.
There is. So what about midfield again? So we got Irvine,
O'Neill, definitely.
We've actually got no one else in the good chance category that's in that centre mid position.
That's true.
And then we got in the long list is Yazbek and Ballard.
And
and he got picked ahead
I
of
Yazbek. I don't know if I'd put him over Yazbek because Popper really likes Yazbek.
He does, but Yazbek, despite playing in America, he didn't get picked in this window. Was it because he was deep in the MLS Cup?
Might have been.
I know they got eliminated, but I don't know how recent it was as well. Maybe that was a consideration. I'm not sure.
But it does, it's like... I feel like wherever... Like Yazbek is, Ballard has to be just behind, just close behind, because Yazbek's clearly, I think, preferred over Ballard, considering Yazbek came in that first window, I think it was under Popovich, right, with the game in Adelaide, and
he's been used a lot,
in, and everyone's like, "Why are you picking him over Ballard?"
Okay,
and so I feel like it's kind of those two are there or thereabouts in Popper's mind. Like, he prefers Yazbek, but it's difficult to not justify Ballard in that same position.
So as we are then.
I'd say so.
There you go. There is our Socceroos tier list for November. It's going to be, another couple of months until the next window in March, so plenty of time to stew on them. But for now, let's head back to the A-League and focus our attention on round 5 with our weekend look. Jacob, who's it a big weekend for?
A lot of people, but there's one in particular that I think is maybe a bit of a weird one, but that stood out to me. is Tom Lawrence for Perth Glory is back. Obviously had concussion protocols kept him out last round, so he's back in the squad this time, and it's been his entire tenure at Perth has been a complete drama so far. From not having visa stuff sorted, and not being eligible to play, and concussions and all sorts, and it just feels like he's just got to start to get some minutes in, hopefully score a goal or two, and kind of show the form that he's shown over in Scotland for most of his career, because Perth are in the doldrums right now, and they really need something to kind of give them that spark. And I think that, getting your big, foreign striker back, I think it could be a huge weekend for him. And, we've kind of spoken about this game against Newcastle being the potential for it to be a bit chaotic and maybe quite a few goals to be scored. So I think it's the perfect opportunity for him to get in there and bag himself a brace or something, and just continue on like the first 4 rounds of the season didn't happen.
So I'm actually going down the Perth Glory route as well, but I reckon it's a big weekend for Adam Griffiths, the interim head coach of the Glory. He is reportedly under consideration for the head coaching role. We all know Graham Arnold will not be considered anymore. He's still a little bit busy with Iraq going into March. But I think if you lose against the Newcastle Jets at home, that's not good. I don't know if they can give you the job after that. So there are, obviously, we all believe minimal opportunities where Perth can win games this year, and this is definitely one of them at home.
Yeah, they're away, aren't they?
They are playing in Newcastle. Fair enough. But still, it is definitely a litmus test. For Griffiths. If he wants the main job, performing well here and getting Perth their first win couldn't go amiss.
You know what else I've just thought of as a big weekend for? And who cares? But all the returning Socceroos, right? Like, this is a big weekend for them, because it wasn't great for them over in America, and it's a chance to kind of shake the monkey off their back and just get back into form a bit. So it's a big weekend for those guys as well.
In a dream world, for me, Leichhardt Stadium is absolutely pumping on Saturday night. We've had the discussion about small boutique stadiums. Everyone agrees that, well, not everyone, but a lot of people say the A-League teams should be playing in smaller venues. Yet whenever an example is presented, there seems to be many fighting against that wave of specific circumstances. Yeah. I reckon this is a really good test. And consistently, by the way, when we've been talking about this, it has been Sydney FC should move to Leichhardt except for Big Blues and Sydney derbies. But by way of circumstance, we're going to be playing a Big Blue at Leichhardt anyway. It's going to be a massive game. I think the capacity is around 20,000. So to get something close to that for a Big Blue, which they should be able to get. It was over 10,000 for the game against Macarthur, so something around the 14, 15 you'd hope for a game of this stature on a Saturday night would be awesome. And hopefully it is exactly the example we need to keep pushing this case forward.
I like it. I like it, yeah. And I think it could be. I think this could be one of the kind of moments of the season, in a way. I hope it is, but this game where, intimate atmosphere, 15, 16,000 people packed into Leichhardt on a Saturday night, Big Blue. I feel like this could be a big moment this season. So fingers crossed for that.
What's your inner dream world?
Brisbane can manage a result against Auckland, a result of some kind, even if it's just like, hey, we played well, but they managed to grab a goal late, because Brisbane have looked good this season, and they've had those kind of performances, the 0-0 draw with City, where they just kind of grind out a result, and I feel like doing the same here against who's been, again, an imperious team to come up against in Auckland. They just barely put a foot wrong all season. I think that this could be a big shout for Brisbane's credentials this season of being like, we're not here to mess around. Like, we can take it to the big boys, a difficult trip to Auckland, and come away with hopefully a point, and from there just go, there's no reason we can't then, because I mean things don't get easier for them, right? They then got victory the next week and then an away trip to Adelaide, so it feels like if they can get a result of some kind here or just put in a really, really solid performance, that'll go a long way in kind of proving the kind of team that they are, and that, you know, it's clear that the players believe that they are and that Valkanis believes that they are, and maybe it can kind of get people to take notice of the Roar again. I mean, we saw the crowd that they got when they went out to the Sunshine Coast. You know, fingers crossed, if they can start to put these results against good teams together, we start to see crowds come back in Brisbane, and that would be huge for the league.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to let you kick off the worst case scenario because I'm pretty sure there's an obvious one, but I've got to back up in case.
Yeah, well, the Wanderers lose.
Yeah,
it's like, and then it's well, do you give Stadge the derby? That's a very tough one to. I think that would be the final straw, right? If you did give him the derby, it would be this is it now, mate. You know, so yeah, I think pretty clearly that is the worst case for anybody or any team this weekend, is that the Wanderers lose, because it could completely throw everything apart for them. Suddenly you lose the coach that you've put all your faith in. The squad that you've assembled that looks really good on paper turns out isn't that great when they start to play on the park. You know, it just feels like the Wanderers of old, right? Like, it's keep the wheels on, guys, please, because when we've got a good Wanderers side getting good crowds, it just makes the league more entertaining. So they kind of fall back to that period where they were like, you know, they weren't even ground hopping, were they? They were playing out of like an oval in Sydney where the GWS Giants play, and it just was like, that was the only resounding memory anybody has of that time period was the bullet celebration for the offside goal. Like, and I think that kind of epitomizes that kind of period for the Wanderers. So it feels like they're starting to drag their way out of that. And I think a loss here, all of a sudden, Stadge is completely under fire and his position is almost untenable. The squad's starting to fall apart. They're not playing good football, but it's a really, really bad situation for them.
And I honestly feel a little bit of sympathy for Stadge, because I feel like this week is just lose-lose.
Yeah.
Like, if you lose to the Mariners, it's bad enough. And I think they probably would give him the derby, but obviously the fans are going to be red hot, right? Like, that's a game you guarantee the fans are still going to be with you. And then if you do poorly there, then you have to make a decision. But even if he wins, you just know that no one's going to give him credit for it.
They'll go, oh, it's the Mariners, you know?
Yeah, it's the Mariners.
Yeah.
Or someone had a good game and scored a goal from range and Stadge is going to get no credit. So I feel a bit sorry for him, but I completely agree. That is the worst case scenario. Just under that, I think for Melbourne City, now this depends on who actually plays in the starting lineup as well, but you talked about Socceroos coming back. Patrick Beecher shouldn't be an issue, but I think the worst case scenario for City is if Kai Truan come back, they decide to play him, and then they add another name to that injury list with some kind of soft tissue. He played both games. I'm not sure if he was affected by the illness. I think if he did, it's an easier decision for Vidmar to leave him out. But if he's fit and he always wants to play, 90 minutes, doesn't want to be taken off. If he ends up getting that tick of approval to start and then comes off injured, of course, I don't wish that on anybody, but that really would be a worst case scenario for City. That list just gets longer and longer. I think Aziz is going to be fit for this game, at least to take some part.
That's a big in, yeah.
That is a big in, but you can't afford to keep losing players. As good as they were in the derby last week, Victory were pretty firing a few blanks in front of goals. So you're not going to win games like that all the time with the team they have. So they can't afford to.
Well,
to
and
keep
hasn't
going on that
Vidmar
list.
say it's gonna be basically a last minute call? Like he's going to evaluate, like on match day.
They're literally flying straight to Adelaide.
Yeah.
On, I think Friday morning is when they touch down. So that is seriously late. So it would actually be a bit of a surprise, to be honest, if Truman started. But just wrap him up in bubble wrap. He's one of your most important players. Don't rub him out for a few weeks, especially as we get into this December holiday period. There you go. There's our weekend look. Of course, if you're a YouTube channel member as well, you can go watch our full preview of the round ahead and our predictions game as well. Managed to clutch up and get the 3 votes last week, so I'm feeling very happy about it. But that is available on the YouTube channel if you wish. Other than that, the other football that's happened during the week, Melbourne City, Jacob, going on an absolute tear in the AFC Women's Champions League won all 3 of their games, I think, to nil, scored a bunch of goals as well. Had the young player, oh God, her name's escaping me. She's only played like 4 games, doing the rainbow flicks out of the corner
I saw
as
that.
well.
That was incredible.
Just absolutely tearing up their opposition. Of course, this is a Melbourne City side who was so close to winning this competition last year, only to concede a goal in the final at the last moment and then lose on penalties. That was just absolute heartbreak for a team that was really pushing for a treble, would have done something really, really special, and only ended up with one of those trophies. They're out for revenge, and they've started in the best possible way, which also means they've secured a home quarterfinal back in Melbourne.
Yeah, this is... I feel like they're even stronger than last season. The way they've handled things so far has been very, very impressive, and everybody's stepped up. Regardless of age, regardless of how many minutes they've got, it feels like nobody's put a foot wrong. It's just really impressive to see. And, it harks back to the conversation that we've been having for a long time about, the A-League women, the potential is there for this league, and it's very evidently clear. And, of course, it used to be one of the biggest and best leagues for women's football in the world, but we're now playing catch-up. But I think that City have shown just how good these teams can be. And, they're one of the few clubs that really actually cares about their women's side. I think it's fair to say, it's not just seen as, oh, we have to have this, kind of a nuisance. It's, no, we can see the value in having a good women's team. And I think that that's awesome. And we're seeing the results of that now when you actually dedicate something to it. And you put people in charge who know their football, who are very, very good coaches. Matriciani is just such a great coach. You've assembled a really good squad. You're able to develop players. It's all the things we talk about doing on the men's side, and they're doing it with their women's team as well. And that's the kind of, reciprocal treatment that I think everybody really wants to see. And it's a shame that we're not seeing it more of. So hopefully the other A-League sides are paying attention to this and going, hang on, Melbourne City are getting all of this, praise, and, everybody's talking about them. It's all over the media. Yeah. That rainbow flick for, I think it was Buttress or somebody,
Buttress,
it's gone crazy on Twitter and stuff. Like, everybody's resharing it. Like, hang on, have we missed something here? Maybe people actually do care about women's football, and it's like we should put something into it. And hopefully that's what happens. It kind of is a carry on. But we've seen obviously City dominate in the league for years and years and years now, alongside really Sydney FC, Melbourne Victory have been okay here and there as well. But I think it just goes to show, when you actually put some effort into running your women's football team, how good they can be. And it's just awesome to see. And I really, really hope that this year they can kick on and they can actually win it, because I think it's pretty obvious that they've got the quality to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? And we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago when the report came out from the PFA and the women's competition. There is so much potential there.
Yeah.
And just with the unfortunate place that the professional game in Australia is in at the moment, we just can't quite capture that, and hopefully things do change. When we talk about things like a new broadcast deal, there'll be a new CBA with the players as well in the next year or so. Hopefully that provides the platform for change. Of course, go watch the Dubcast as well with Paletti and Burke, who have been covering Melbourne City's entrance in that competition, and of course the A-League Women's as well, if that's your thing. But for now, that'll do for this episode of the Round Ball Australia podcast. Jacob, thanks for coming on. Unfortunate window for the Socceroos, but keen to get stuck into the A-League over the holiday season.
Yeah, and the Ashes as well, obviously.
Let's go.
It's, look, I hate it, but I love it at the same time.
I love the Ashes so much.
Yeah, it is good fun, and I'm sure we'll be bringing it up all the time anyway, so...
I don't know. I feel like there's like a bit of an amnesty between soccer and cricket fans. Like, all the kind of animosity in Australia for different codes is usually the football codes. I feel like cricket gets a little bit of a free pass, like we're actually mates.
It's not seen as a real threat or, a rival in any way. Yeah. I think there is a big overlap as well between football fans and cricket fans. And obviously in England, but even here in Australia, I feel like there's a massive overlap between the two. So yeah, you kind of get that. I'm seeing people now that I think of as football people are talking about cricket, now on social media and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it feels, it's great to not be just at each other's throats. You know,
Just enjoying it for what it is.
Sport versus sport, of course, will be at each other's throats, I'm sure, as the series wears on. But it's for different reasons.
It's good, very good. All right, enjoy your Ashes, enjoy your A-League football on the weekend. We appreciate your company as always. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.